Hi, I'm Kurt Berglund, and going to be talking to you tonight about a new project that I'm starting. I have multiple projects going on at the same time, but this one actually has been in the works for a while. Over the summer of 2020, which seems like, I don't know, not more than 8 or 10 years ago, James and I at Pine Tar Baseball created a Negro Leagues Great Team set. And it's one of the things that I'm proudest of that I've ever done in my entire life. And the reason why is because I've read an awful lot about many of these players and the teams that they were on and the things that they achieved and the kind of baseball that they played, and about the conditions in which they lived and played the game that they loved. And all of that sort of combines to me to make fascinating history, and I've always wanted to create something that honors their legacy. And this is a very small attempt to do that, and maybe it's something that I'll get to work on more in the future. But if not, the 12 teams created in the Pine Tar Baseball, Negro League set is something that I'll always be very, very proud of. And there's a 13th team, which is available on the Pine Tar Baseball Facebook page, the 1934 Philadelphia Stars. Okay, so let's talk about the teams, and then the project, and then what we're going to do tonight. There's 12 teams available. The website is ttlbaseballgame.com. I will link it in the description of this video. And then I'll stop doing whatever it is to make myself cough so much. The 12 teams are the 1910 Chicago Lelands, the 1917 Chicago American Giants, the 1924 Kansas City Monarchs, the 1925 Chicago American Giants, the 1928 St. Louis Stars, the 1929 Baltimore Black Sox, the 1931 Homestead Grays, the 1933 Chicago American Giants, the 1934 Philadelphia Stars, I already told you about, is available on the Facebook page. The 1935 Pittsburgh Crawfords, the 1942 Kansas City Monarchs, the 1946 Newark Eagles, and the 1947 New York Cubans. And that covers all of them. Did I say the 35 Crawfords? I think I did. And so what I did with those 12 teams was I sat down and I tried to seed them. Now, if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll find a playlist of introductions to each of these teams in case you don't know much about them. There's also a document on Facebook and that you get when you get the PDF of these teams if you decide to purchase that. Or if you just send me an email address, I will send the document to you itself in case you've missed it and would like to see it. It is a one-page document for each team in the set that tells you a little bit about the team, the batting order, why they were great, who they beat, how they're looked at historically, and so on. Well, I looked at those 12 teams and tried to seed them, and I couldn't do it. So I came up with two teams. Actually, the first two teams were kind of easy because historians tend to think that the 1931 Homestead Grays and the 1935 Pittsburgh Crawfords were maybe a cut above the rest historically in terms of what they accomplished, who their players were, and so on. But I also was very, very impressed as I created the teams with the 1925 Chicago American Giants and decided that I would seed them third. So we have the Grays and the Crawfords at 1 and 2, the Giants at 3, and then I randomly drew to fill in the tournament bracket. So I'm going to tell you about that. Tonight, sort of as a warm-up, we're going to start a 3-game series, a 3-game version of the East-West game. And if you haven't read this book yet, or seen me hype it yet, it's not mine. It's Larry Lester is the author. But what he did was he researched the 20 years of East-West, or I guess it'd be 21 years, of East-West All-Star games in the Negro Leagues from 33 to 53. And they were one-game affairs held at Chicago's Comiskey Park. And were more popular, more important to Negro League baseball than even the Negro League World Series of those years. This was a big, big deal. And so, as a warm-up to my Negro Leagues tournament that I'm going to put on my YouTube channel, tonight on a separate video, I'm going to start a best-of-3 game series between the East and the West of these teams. So what I did was I divided the teams into East and West and created 2 all-star teams. There are multiple players that are on more than one team in this set, but there won't be more than one version of their cards in the game. So I took the best card, and that's who was represented, and that's which season was represented for these players. So it's going to be a best-of-3, East versus West, and I'm going to go through the lineup, the rosters and the lineups for tonight's game, and set all that up on a separate video and roll the game using Pine Tar Baseball. Very excited to do that. It'll be a best-of-3 game series. When that's done, then we'll start getting into round 1 of the tournament. The first matchup in the first round of the tournament will be the 1917 Chicago American Giants, as it happens, against the 1933 Chicago American Giants. And I'll talk more about that matchup in the video that will follow the 2 or 3 games of the East-West games that are coming up. In the tournament, the 31 Grays, the 35 Crawfords, and the 25 Giants all get a first-round bye. The other teams have to play their way out of the tournament, of the first round into the second round. All right, so let's look very quickly at the tournament, and then I will encourage you to go watch Game 1 of the East-West All-Star Game. All right, what you see in front of you is the left side of the bracket for the Negro Leagues tournament that I will be conducting using Pine Tar Baseball. So you can see on the left side, the Homestead Grays have the top seed. They get a first-round bye. And then these combinations of teams will move along until we have a left side winner, and then they will face, of course, the right side winner. So the matchups, in case you can't read them very well because my writing is awful, here's the 1917 Giants against the 1933 Chicago American Giants. Just worked out that the Chicago American teams are playing each other in this part of the bracket. Then down in this quarter of the bracket, the 1946 Newark Eagles will play the 1947 New York Cubans, and the 1934 Philadelphia Stars will play the 1929 Baltimore Black Sox. Eventually, we'll have winners here, they'll play in quarterfinals, and then we'll have the finals with these 2 teams. Here are the other teams in the tournament. The 35 Crawfords have the number 2 seed overall. They will play the winner of the 1924 Kansas City Monarchs and the 1928 St. Louis Stars. Then we have the 1925 Chicago American Giants. They will play the winner of the 1942 Monarchs versus the 1910 Lelands, Chicago Lelands, which was an earlier version of the Chicago American Giants. This matchup here is the biggest spread in chronology that we have in the tournament, and just sort of randomly worked out that way. So these are the teams in the Negro Leagues tournament, and I'll bring this up here so you can get a picture of the entire bracket like that. But first, we're going to do a best of 3 Negro Leagues East-West All-Star game, which of course they didn't do in real life. They just played one game. We're going to go best of 3 as a warm-up for this tournament. Okay, thank you so much for watching. My name's Kurt Berglund. Please click like and subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with the Negro Leagues Pine Tar Baseball Simulation Tournament, and being posted very, very shortly after I post this one, you'll have Game 1 of the East-West All-Star Game to watch. So thank you again, and look out for that, and we'll see you soon. So long, everybody.